Chosen one. Something undeniable has taken root in the atmosphere around you. It isn't simply your walk, your voice, or your presence. It is a pulse, an inner vibration that enters every room before you do. Women have begun to say it aloud, often without fully understanding what they're touching when they speak of you. You are amazing. They say it with a softness, sometimes with surprise, other times with certainty. But beneath every word is the same revelation. They are not merely complimenting your appearance or your confidence. They are responding to your energy. That sacred current moving through your body, governed by intention, elevated by restraint, and pulsing with something ancient, something divine, your high sexual energy. This energy is not a performance. It is not a show you put on or a trick you learned. It is who you have become. A frequency that once surged through you in confusion now hums in alignment. Where there used to be restlessness, now there is rhythm. Where there was once urgency, now there is understanding. And because of that understanding, your energy has become magnetic. Not in the shallow, attention-seeking way that the world idolizes, but in the holy, soul-level way that invites others to breathe deeper in your presence. Women feel it in your gaze, not the gaze that hunts, but the gaze that sees. They feel it in your stillness, not the stillness of uncertainty, but the stillness of mastery. They feel it in the way your words do not rush, the way your gestures are not wasted, the way you do not need to declare yourself because your very being speaks volumes. Your energy is no longer seeking to be noticed. It is simply not possible to ignore. And that is what they are responding to when they say you are amazing. That is what their intuition recognizes long before their logic can explain it. But, chosen one, you must not let this praise become your prize. Do not turn their recognition into your destination. Their voices are simply echoes of what your soul already knows. You have cultivated something sacred within. And now the world is beginning to reflect it back to you through admiration, through softness, through reverence. What matters now is not that they see it, but that you remember what it cost you to become this. The nights of self-restraint, the silence you chose instead of reaction, the hunger you transmuted into presence. That is what created the energy they now feel. And that is what must remain protected. You are not amazing because of how many notice you. You are amazing because you have finally noticed yourself. You have met your own depth. You have found the edges of your own fire and chosen not to be burned by it, but to carry it like light. And women, those who are attuned, are drawn to that light, not because it flatters them, but because it reminds them of their own glow. Because of the way your energy witnesses without consuming, holds without binding, desires without degrading. Chosen one, they will continue to say you are amazing. Some will say it quietly, some boldly, some with words, others only with eyes. Let them, but let their praise be confirmation, not foundation. Do not let it define you. Let it simply affirm that your energy has reached its natural place, no longer chaotic, but consecrated, no longer seeking, but summoning, no longer wild, but wise, and in that, your power only grows, not through striving, but through remaining rooted in who you've become. Chosen one, with recognition comes a deeper test, responsibility. Now that your energy is being felt, admired, and spoken of with reverence, your choices hold greater weight. You are no longer moving unseen. You are no longer just shaping yourself in silence. Now your presence shapes others. Your words echo. Your glance influences. Your decisions affect those who are drawn to your frequency. And this is where the difference between a powerful man and a dangerous one is made, in how he carries the responsibility of being seen. Your high sexual energy is no longer something that must be hidden. It is no longer the untamed hunger you once feared would betray your purpose. It is now your compass. But like all compasses, it can guide or mislead. It can point you toward legacy or lure you into destruction. You must now treat your energy not as a gift for indulgence, but as a tool for transformation. Because what makes you amazing is not just the force of your energy. It is the way you have chosen to hold it, with care, with thoughtfulness, with restraint. Women who step into your orbit feel something rare, safe intensity. That is the highest praise a man can receive. It means you are powerful without being unpredictable. It means you are full without being forceful. And that kind of energy doesn't just awaken interest, it awakens truth. Some will feel emotions they didn't know they carried. Others will feel remembered in your presence. Others still will feel challenged, not by your words, but by the mirror your energy becomes. You must remember, chosen one, that this kind of presence shifts more than moods, it shifts consciousness. But with that influence comes a sacred obligation to do no harm. Just because you can does not mean you should. Just because she leans in does not mean you must pull closer. Just because you are praised does not mean you are immune from pride. This is where many fall. This is where men confuse praise for permission, attraction for entitlement, beauty for belonging. You must be the man who walks the higher road. When she comes near, your question must not be, what can I take, but what can I protect? When you feel her interest, your question must not be, how far will she go, but how deeply can I respect her without needing anything in return? That is your responsibility now, not to dim your light, but to use your light to illuminate her path, not blind it, to let your energy stir but not consume, to let your authority invite, not overpower, to remain centered in every encounter, no matter how tempting, how flattering, how beautiful, because you know who you are and what your energy is for. You are now the standard she will compare others to. That is the unspoken contract of every man who becomes authority. You leave marks, not just memories. You plant seeds, not just impressions. You shift her internal compass for better or worse. Let it be for better. Let your presence be something she remembers not with regret but with reverence. Because when she walked into your field, she met a man who could have taken everything, but instead chose to offer her back to herself. That is power, and you hold it now. Hold it with reverence. Hold it with care. Hold it like a sword forged in fire and polished by the silence of self-mastery. Because you are not just amazing, chosen one. You are responsible for the space your amazingness creates. Chosen one, now that your energy precedes you and women find themselves saying you are amazing without always knowing why, the time has come to deepen your understanding of connection. This chapter of your life is not about how many you can attract, but about how deeply you can reach. Not how wide your influence spreads, but how intentionally your presence lands. And when a woman steps into your space, whether with conversation, a glance, or even curiosity, what you do next reveals everything about the man you've become. You see, attraction is effortless when your energy is aligned. But connection, true connection, requires spiritual awareness. It is the difference between lighting a fire and keeping it alive through the night. You are no longer in the stage where surface-level moments satisfy. You have evolved beyond seduction for its own sake. You now understand that the most powerful thing a man can do with his high sexual energy is not scatter it across meaningless interactions, but focus it into presence that honors the soul standing in front of him. Women feel this in you now. They lean in, not because you've manipulated their interest, but because your stillness makes them curious. Your focus makes them feel safe. Your grounded posture suggests something unfamiliar in this world. A man who is both passionate and patient. A man who can feel deeply without making every moment about conquest. A man who has stopped viewing women as objects to win and has begun to honor them as mirrors to exchange truth with. This is where the art of connection lives, not in what you say, but in what you hold. Can you hold silence without rushing to fill it? Can you hold her gaze without expectation? Can you hold space for her emotions without reacting to them, fixing them, or fearing them? Can you let her unravel without making it about you? These are the questions that define a man who no longer lives in the shallows of interaction, but walks the deeper waters where meaning resides. And what is most sacred is this: the connection you offer is not made of control or pursuit. It is made of invitation. You no longer chase because you don't need to. Your energy invites, it opens, it allows. It says you are safe to be real here. I won't punish your vulnerability. I won't rush your pace. I won't misuse what you show me. And when a woman feels this, something inside her relaxes. Her guard falls, not because you demanded it, but because your presence earned it. In these moments, chosen one, you become more than a man, you become a sanctuary. She will not always know how to say it, but she will feel it in the way her voice softens. In the way she breathes more deeply around you, in the way she remembers things she thought she forgot when she's with you. And long after the conversation ends, she will replay the stillness, the way you didn't rush, the way you didn't impress, and realize it was the most connected she had felt in a long time. Because connection is not intensity. It is not adrenaline. It is not seduction dressed in spiritual words. It is the mutual agreement of presence. And you, chosen one, have finally become the kind of man who can offer it fully. That is why she says you are amazing. Because in a world of men who consume, you have learned the art of being with. And that, to the awakened feminine, is unforgettable. Chosen one, now that your field draws others in, now that your name travels in quiet praise, now that women approach you with wonder and speak of you with reverence, you must lean into one of the most sacred and overlooked virtues of a man walking in his power, discernment. You no longer need to prove your value. The room already feels it. You no longer need to seek validation. The mirror of the feminine reflects your evolution back to you in real time. But this is the very moment where your next level of maturity must rise. Because the greater your influence, the more critical your choices become. Not every approach is a calling. Not every compliment is confirmation. Not every invitation is meant to be received. Your high sexual energy is magnetic by nature, but magnetism without discernment becomes a doorway to self-sabotage. You must now guard your energy with more precision than ever before. Not from fear, not from ego, but from wisdom. Because what you entertain now either strengthens your path or fragments your foundation. Discernment is not judgment, it is clarity. It is knowing the difference between resonance and reaction, between alignment and flattery, between a sacred invitation and a subtle distraction wrapped in admiration. As women come closer, some will come because they are ready to rise. Others will come because they are drawn to your light, but not ready to honor it. And some will come not for connection, but to absorb what you carry. You must be clear enough within yourself to feel the difference. This is where the deep work continues, not in performance, but in silence. You must learn to listen with your body, your gut, your nervous system. When a new energy steps into your space, feel it. Ask yourself, does this feel light or heavy, safe or anxious, expansive or consuming? Your body already knows. You just have to stop overriding it. And when you do discern misalignment, do not make a scene. Do not shame. Do not become arrogant. Simply close the door with grace. Because a man walking in divine energy does not need to react loudly. He simply chooses wisely and moves on quietly. That is power. That is maturity. That is discernment in its highest form. Women will feel this in you, and they will respect it even if it frustrates them in the moment. Because deep down, the feminine longs for the presence of a man who does not follow his urges, but honors his intuition. Who doesn't say yes because he can, but says no because he knows what he's preserving. Your ability to say no when everything in the world would celebrate your yes is what will separate you from every man she's ever met. This is what true self-governance looks like. You no longer belong to impulse. You no longer belong to external pressure. You belong to your purpose. And because of that, your energy is not for everyone. It is not to be handed out like candy. It is to be invited into sacred union with alignment, purpose, and truth. Anything less deserves your silence, not your sacrifice. Let discernment become your armor. Let it be the quiet standard that filters what enters your life. Because you have become too valuable to be casual, too aligned to be pulled, too sacred to be diluted. And the women who are ready to meet you at that standard, they will not resist it. They will rise to meet it. Chosen one, there comes a point when your energy alone speaks for you, before you say a word, before you extend your hand, before your name even passes between lips. You are now living in that moment. The women who cross your path say you are amazing, not because of something you did to impress them, but because of what they felt in your presence. That feeling, undeniable, rare, deeply grounding, is the result of something few ever master, the sacred practice of being fully present. Presence is more than being in the room. It is more than eye contact or polite conversation. Presence is conscious embodiment. It is the decision to exist completely in the moment without needing to bend it, fix it, or dominate it. It is your nervous system so calm, so regulated, so deeply at peace, that it offers others permission to drop their masks without saying a single word. It is what makes a woman's guard soften when she speaks to you. It is what makes her laughter feel more real. It is what makes her body relax in ways even she doesn't understand. Not because you did something, but because you are something. Fully there, undivided, not fractured by distraction, not spinning in mental noise, not calculating or performing, just being. This is your new home now, the realm of sacred presence. And with it comes a responsibility that most never prepare for, the responsibility to hold space without expectation. To listen without the itch to respond, to observe without analyzing, to allow without attempting to control. You have moved past the impulse to manipulate moments. You no longer chase outcomes. You trust the gravity of your presence to shape the atmosphere, and that trust creates safety for others to unfold. Women are especially sensitive to this. Their intuition picks up subtle vibrations that most miss. When you are present, they feel it. When you are distracted, they feel it. When you are centered in your body and rooted in your breath, your energy becomes a temple, one that says, you can exhale here. And this kind of space is healing. It is why around you a woman may say things she didn't mean to share. It is why her eyes linger longer than expected. It is why her expression shifts from guarded to open, not because you seduced her, but because you disarmed her fear of being misread, misunderstood, mishandled. Presence also allows you to access another dimension of awareness. You begin to feel energy rather than think through it. You pick up on tension, on timing, on emotional rhythm, without needing anyone to explain. You know when to speak and when to remain silent. You recognize when she needs space and when she needs grounding. This sensitivity does not come from control. It comes from attunement. And attunement only arrives through consistent, cultivated presence. To live this way is to choose depth over noise, to choose the richness of one real moment over the stimulation of dozens of shallow ones. It is to trade speed for stillness, to refuse the pace of performance and rest inside the quiet power of alignment. You are no longer rushed. You are no longer proving anything. You are here. And here is where the real magic happens. Let your presence remain your sanctuary, chosen one. Do not let urgency rob you of it. Do not let praise inflate it. Protect it as you would protect sacred ground, because it is your presence, not your words, not your image, not your charm, that will be remembered most. And not because it was loud, but because it allowed others to feel safe enough to be themselves fully. This is the miracle of presence. It doesn't overpower, it awakens, and the ones who experience it will never forget what it felt like to finally feel seen without being performed for. Chosen one. Now that your presence carries peace, now that your silence feels like guidance, and now that women around you are saying, you are amazing, with awe and conviction, you must recognize what you have truly stepped into. You have become influential. Not through strategy, not through persuasion, but through frequency, through consistency, through alignment with yourself. And that kind of influence is not given, it is earned through embodiment. Influence at this level is not about control. It is about energetic direction. You are no longer just one man among many. You are the point of orientation. Others align themselves according to how you move. Conversations adjust to your tempo. Emotions recalibrate in your presence. Decisions are made differently after speaking with you. This is the subtle, divine reach of your energy. It echoes, it lingers, it changes the atmosphere long after you've left the room. And now, you must treat this influence with sacred responsibility. Because others are listening to how you speak, even when you think your words are casual. They are studying how you hold yourself, how you respond under pressure, how you treat those who cannot offer you anything in return. You are a reference point now, for safety, for power, for clarity, for balance. And particularly for women, you are becoming a mirror of how masculinity can feel when it is governed by inner truth rather than external image. The danger of influence is believing it belongs to you. It does not. It moves through you, but it is not yours. It is a current you have access to because you have chosen to stay in alignment, to walk with reverence, to discipline your impulses, and to embody the wisdom you once only understood intellectually. This is why your influence heals, because it is backed by authenticity. And what does that influence look like? It looks like a woman walking away from you with better posture and a deeper breath. It looks like her remembering her worth without you needing to spell it out. It looks like her smiling to herself days after you've spoken, not because of what you said, but because of how you made her feel about herself. That is impact. That is masculine leadership. That is the legacy of true, energetic integrity. You no longer need to convince anyone of your value. Your influence has surpassed speech. Your energy now speaks on your behalf. But this is also where discernment must sharpen, and where responsibility must deepen. Because the more influence you carry, the greater the temptation becomes to use it for ego, for access, for gratification. You must now protect your influence like a sacred river. Let it run clean. Let it be clear. Let it bless, not burden. You will continue to be told how amazing you are. You will continue to be sought out. But the question that must guide you now